Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are glad you are here, and just by showing up, you're already demonstrating your very own smarts. Today, I am pleased to present a unique pair of people that I admire and respect so much. One I have stalked as a speaker since launching this platform 250 episodes ago, and the other was the very first guest that I featured in our pilot episode during COVID. A full circle moment indeed. I promise you will leave today smarter and more enlightened than you arrived. Before we get started, please let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the music industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. I run the music practice at Turnkey ZRG, and I place music executives in roles throughout the industry. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, say hello to your friends, and make some new ones. Also, and this is important, please make sure your chat is set to address everyone, not just the host and speakers. I want to thank our program sponsors, for without their support, we could not keep this free. Special thanks to MedJet, Turnkey ZRG, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Tennessee Brew Works, and Better Than Booze. So let's get down to business. In today's host seat, we welcome back my good friend, Karen Allen. She is CEO and co-founder of Infinite Album, which creates infinite streams of AI-generated, game-reactive, copyright-safe, and monetizable music for gamers. She authored a book called Twitch for Musicians, a guide for artists on how to live stream on Twitch, and advises labels, artists, and brands on live stream strategies. Karen has held executive positions at Tag Strategic, Mobile Ecosystem Forum, and the RIAA. Welcome back, Karen. It is an honor to have you back today.
It's so good to be back. I really enjoy doing these.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did the first one, and I also interviewed Ted Cohen, which was no mean feat. I love Ted. I used to work for Ted at Tag, so we go way back. And Darryl goes way back with Ted as well.
If you're in the music business, you go back with Ted. All roads lead
Yeah.
to Ted. I hope Ted's here today.
Yeah,
Let's,
me too.
let's talk about Darryl for just a second. Joining Karen is Darryl Ballantyne. Darryl co-founded Lyric Find in 2004 and is currently the CEO. The company pioneered the licensed digital lyric space, signing the first mass lyrics licensing deal with EMI Music Publishing in 2005. He has overseen Lyric Find's growth into the world's largest lyrics provider. Lyric Find's clients include the biggest names in the music and tech space, such as TikTok, Amazon Music, Google, Xperi, YouTube Music, Pandora, Deezer, and more. Lyric Find has established long-standing licensing relationships with over 60,000 music publishers and PROs around the world. As an authority on licensing and digital content, Darryl regularly speaks at industry events across the globe, including South by Southwest, Music Biz, Music Tectonics, Canadian Music Week, Trends, Brazil, California Music Tech, NOLA Music Tech, Music Ally, Connect. He's also been featured in publications such as Music Business Worldwide, Yahoo Finance, Music Week, and the Globe and Mail. Before launching Lyric Find, Darryl was manager of digital development and distribution at EMI Music in Los Angeles, where he was involved in deals with companies such as Yahoo, Napster, and iTunes. It is an honor to welcome these two rock stars to our platform today. Take it away, guys.
Well, I'm very happy to do this. I've known Darryl for quite some time. Actually met you through my job at Tag, and we've been friends ever since. In fact, I saw you last at Music Biz.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the first time in Atlanta for Music Biz too.
Yeah, it was really interesting, like just kind of location wise and being in a different area and that. And I really liked the hotel venue that they had. But then when you step out of the hotel venue, you feel like you're in an office park a
Yeah,
little bit. But
a little bit. Yeah, it was a short walk over to where everything was. That was kind of nice.
yeah, being close to like the stadium and all that stuff was cool. I hadn't been in that area before.
Yeah, for sure. What you been up to since?
Oh, nothing too crazy going on in our in our lives. Uh, yeah, it's obviously been an interesting year with everything going on, but going
Hmm.
through all of the motions, both from a business and legal perspective, uh, and trying to get some time off in there. I just spent 2 weeks off on pseudo vacation for the first time in a long time. The last 2 weeks before this, so I am feeling
Nice.
somewhat refreshed. And
Good, good. Yeah, I've managed to get some vacation in the summer too. We went to Alaska for a couple of weeks, so it was fun.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, I never get vacation, so it was it was good. Yeah, Infinite Album is going well. For those who don't know, we do AI music for games. It's infinitely generated, real-time game reactive music. We're in a bit of a heads down phase right now, so not a lot to talk about. But it's been a really interesting ride being in AI music for sure. It's definitely the time to do it. And coming
Yeah.
out of live streaming, I like to be sort of on the edge of what's happening next. So
Well, yeah, and you
been
were one
really
of the
good.
first people in like the AI music, especially on the gaming side. Like, how many years has
Yeah.
it been now with Infinite Album?
I started advising in 21 and I joined in 22.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a while.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, a very early mover on that. It's fascinating all the stuff
Yeah.
that you've been working on.
I still firmly believe the games is going to be the most lucrative space for AI music for sure. It
Yeah,
hasn't
like
quite
it's such a
struck yet.
bigger in like the gaming industry itself is what, 7, 8 times the size of the music industry.
It's
So
just under 200 billion worldwide.
yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. And 80% of that
okay.
is free to play, which basically means you don't necessarily buy the game, but you pay once you're in. You pay for battle passes and power ups. And then also half of that's like stuff you need to play the game, and the other half is stuff you don't need to play the game, like a better outfit or a dance move or things to make it fun, personalization. And music is just not really in that because licensing is really difficult and creating music for games is a long process and it just hasn't really been a priority yet. But I feel like AI unlocks all that. It unlocks the difficulty of creating music on the fly for games. And it
Yeah.
sort of creates a pathway for actual copyrights in
AI giving you the
music.
ability to do
Yeah.
things like I remember years ago when you first showed me the stuff of, like having music be reactive to the actual events that are happening in the game in
Yeah.
real time because of the AI engine behind it. It was just such a cool, revolution in not just
Yeah.
gaming but in music, right? Like
Well, look, more than half of gamers get the game music at some point because they get tired of it and they play their Spotify. So why aren't we monetizing that in the game? Right.
yeah,
So that's the first thing. Second thing is EA just did a deal with Spotify. So they can actually get some of that Spotify money. So they recognize that this is actually happening. And there's a few of us companies that are trying to build these music experiences within games. And I mean, music industry makes money, right, in games because we sell t-shirts and we sell dance moves and there's branded Ariana Grande experiences and so forth, but that doesn't really trickle down to the sound recording of the publishing.
and
um
yeah, and so much of that is really hard to do from a licensing perspective on a mass catalog basis,
yeah,
right? Like it's one thing if an individual artist does it, then they can kind of have an easier path to clearing the rights because it's the artist. If Ariana Grande wants to do it, the label or the publisher are not going to say no, and there's no issue with artist approvals, or there's no uh,
hmm,
roadblocks like that. But uh, any of that stuff, if we can add it into the gaming environment, it's just found money. If people will pay for music separately within a game instead of just putting their Spotify on in the background, that's
yeah,
found money for the industry because they don't
yeah,
make any more money off of Spotify playing in the background, but they can make more off
you
of
make a lot more.
an additional channel. Yeah.
Yeah, make a lot more. I mean, I will correct myself a little bit. There are opportunities for whole song syncs, but there's not a lot of like placement for that within a game, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
Ariana Grande is doing a thing um on Fortnite, obviously there's a sync with that, right?
Yeah.
For a whole song experience. But in terms of just saying, hey, I want to play Call of Duty and I love Kendrick Lamar, let's put those two together. There's really nothing for that. So anyway, that's my long-winded way of saying that You heard it here first. AI music will be the most lucrative exploitation of AI music. And I'll get off my soapbox now. Let's talk about you.
Right.
I know, right? What made you finally acquiesce to doing this?
I mean, I'd always wanted
Mhm.
to, and it was one thing after another that scheduling didn't work out, and it was stops and starts, and like, okay, what are we gonna talk about, and things like that that delayed it. And then Tom and I would run into each other all the time and say, "Oh, we got to get this figured out." Every time we would see each other, so it's I think a little bit of procrastination on my part, and then yeah, lack of scheduling and that. But uh, and for, I think a little bit during COVID, I got burnt out of sitting in front of a computer on Zoom calls and Zoom panels
Oh
and
yeah.
things like that. So there was maybe a year-long stretch in there when I wanted to do anything that was not on Zoom uh, or on video calls. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Between Zoom and live streaming, I think I was strapped to my computer about 16 hours a day for a good year and a half there.
Yeah,
So yeah.
happy. I'm happy to finally have figured out the timing and to make this happen, and obviously to have you as the person that is here with me. So.
Well, thank you. Um, so most of these interviews are really about your career, and you're one of the trickier ones to interview about the career because I think you have just about the shortest LinkedIn I've ever seen. You basically went from college to a job to a startup, and you've been there ever since, which is really, really rare for, I mean, anyone to be at any job for these days for more than 2 to 5 years, but you've been been doing Lyric Find forever. So let's start from the beginning. You were in college, Waterloo. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, University of Waterloo, about an
Right.
hour west of Toronto.
Okay. And then how did you get from there to Ted Cohen's office at EMI in Los Angeles?
So the first year in university, we were there in 99 2000. That was my first year of university, and
Hmm.
that was the height of the first .com boom. And Waterloo is a big tech school. Um, I was surrounded by tech people. I was an amateur tech person myself, even though my degree is in math and business. Uh, so of course, everybody there is thinking about startups. It's a very entrepreneurial school. RIM, which became BlackBerry, and Research in Motion at the time, was huge, huge company, and their campus was literally the university campus. Um,
Mm.
and that. So we were all kind of thinking about that type of stuff and had dreams of retiring at 27 and starting some big .com startup that we could just quit school and drop out and run it. Uh, so in first year university, we were kind of thinking about, oh, we should try to do something. We should try to start something. And that turned into the initial version of Lyric Find with us being just a regular Lyric website. And that became super popular, but we quickly realized that we needed licensing for that, and the whole world of copyright opened up to us, and shut the lyrics down and tried to get licensing, and that was a gigantic clusterfuck, especially in late 2000, early 2001,
A
when
lot of companies got bitch slapped with copyright right around that time.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
really great ideas and not a lot of licensing.
and like the height of Napster and stuff like that, where the
Hmm.
music industry was really trying to shut down the internet rather than work with it.
Yeah.
So during that process, at Canadian Music Week, I ended up meeting Ted, and we did a panel together where I was kind of I was the student on the panel of, why won't you sell me MP3s and things like that. And Ted was the big bad record label guy. Uh,
Hmm.
so we got to know each other a little bit on the panel, and then spent like 2 hours standing around after the panel talking about, uh, you know, would you buy this? No, I wouldn't buy this, but would you sell me that? No, I can't sell you that because of this, but what about that? And really hit it off. So at that point, we had given up on trying to license Lyric Find as a regular website, and we kind of shut it down, and we're continuing on with our studies. But in uh, in Waterloo, I was in the co-op program. So every second semester, I'm off on a work term, like an internship. So I said to Ted, look, I want to come and work for you for my next co-op term, and that was the time then my last one before graduation. So I ended up convincing him to let me come and work for him at EMI. I spent 4 months down in LA working with him and learning a lot and stealing all the Red Bull from his Red Bull fridge in his office.
Remember that fridge? Yeah.
Yep, it was great. And uh, then I was actually supposed to go back and work for him full time when I graduated, which was 4 months later, and we were trying to figure out all the visa stuff over the summer of 2004 to get me down to LA. And in what is the perfect metaphor for startup life, I was with my family at Canada's Wonderland, which is an amusement park on the north side of Toronto, literally about to step onto a roller coaster. And my phone rang. It was a person at Microsoft, and they were starting the MSN Music Store, and they wanted to include lyric functionality in the MSN Music Store. And they had found our old website, which we had left up without the lyrics on it, but we had such good SEO that it paid for our rent and beer money all through university.
Nice.
And and it also had my cell phone number on it. So they called and said, "Hey, we're starting this. Can you license us lyrics?" And I said, "Well, no, but let me make a few calls." I called Mo, my co-founder, and told him, and we said, "Okay, well, maybe could we do this instead of getting regular jobs?" And then I called Ted and said, "Hey, this happened. Do you think that the industry has changed? Do you think that we could come back to this and actually get licensing?" And Ted said yes, and set up a call with EMI Publishing, who at the time was the biggest publisher out there, and was now now part of Sony. And set up a call. I spent about an hour and a half on the phone with them talking about lyrics licensing and how it could work. As soon as they got off the phone with me, they called Ted back and said, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And
Like in a good way, I hope.
yeah,
Yeah.
and can he actually monetize lyrics like he says he can? And should we license him? And Ted said yes, and yes, you should. And yeah, that was the beginning of Lyric Find as an aggregator and sub licensing, and that was 21 years ago now, and here we are. And shortly after that, I met Mike McCarty, who I see is there in the chat now, who is here in Toronto and was president of EMI Publishing Canada at the time, and took me around to introduce me to a ton of other people and help get us going. So
Mhm.
hi, Mike, and thank you. And we live around the corner from each other now. But uh, we've just never looked back from that, and I've never had to go and get a real job.
That's incredible. So, it's first of all, with a startup, it's pretty wild to start with a client, right? Usually you build the product and then you have to go find clients and convince them that, you're the one for it. So it's pretty incredible to have a client already and then to go have to figure out how to supply them.
Yeah.
Um,
Although to be
so
fair, it took us years and years to get the licensing, and at that point, the MSN Music Store was gone. So we never ended up licensing MSN in that way. But
interesting. Okay.
but the demand was there.
Right. So approve the demand. So EMI was willing to license you. Um, correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have no money, you've done no fundraising, and labels, publishers like money up front, they like in advance. And you didn't have a database built, right? To actually like service a client. You didn't have an API. I'm assuming you didn't have a database. Like, what was next? How did you build this without putting any money out? Or did you go to VCs at that point and say, look, this is a business, give me a couple $1,000,000 to figure it out?
We did go to VCs, and I was terrible at that. That was like one of my biggest shortcomings as a founder and CEO is that I was terrible at raising money, and
Most people are. It is difficult. Yeah.
yeah, I went about it the entirely wrong way and never raised any money.
Which was
Uh,
what? So people know how not to do it.
I did it piecemeal. Like I
Okay.
went and I would take a meeting here, a meeting there, and uh, didn't set up a process. Like I think now, and again, I'm the voice of inexperience in this, but
Mhm.
if I was doing a startup and raising money, I would set a concrete period of fundraising and line up all the meetings that people were willing to take and do them all at the same time, set deadlines, set a schedule, and that so that VCs have FOMO, right? So that
Mhm.
they have a deadline themselves, because otherwise you end up in a situation where people will just keep asking for a bit more information, or they'll wait and they want to see. We'd always hear like, we need to see a bit more traction, or we need
Yeah.
this, or we need
Oh
that.
yeah.
And there's no sense of urgency for them to get the deal done because they're not worried about losing it to somebody
Mhm.
else. So if you set deadlines and then have you can create a bidding war off of it, then that's how you can actually get something done in the funding world versus us just saying that, okay, we'll try to get you that information or this information, or we'll let you know when we've signed the deal with EMI, uh, for example, and it'll gives them an excuse to just wait and see rather than have to commit. Uh,
Yeah. The flip side of that is you can sometimes push them into a no.
yeah,
If they're not ready and you're like, but we're closing this in 3 months, March 30th is my deadline. They can be like, yeah, we're not there yet. So
but
you
then
could be
you
pushing them
go and
into a
like
no.
if you can't get anybody on board by that March 30th deadline, then you just uh, take a step back and stop fundraising, because
Hmm.
there's something. If you've emailed 100 VCs that are relevant and done dozens of meetings and set up this process and nobody is willing to move to a term sheet, then there's probably something wrong with the business as it is.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, where it's not fundable to those VCs. Either you're targeting the wrong VCs, you're not far enough along, or there's a fundamental issue with it, where then it makes a lot more sense to take a step back, go heads down on the business, figure out what is actually there, and hopefully you get some meaningful feedback from VCs, but that's not usually the case.
Yeah.
Uh,
And in your defense, I mean, think that was the point. What years were you raising? Do you remember?
that would have been like 2005.
Okay. So that was the point where a lot of VCs had funded music startups and had gotten burned because the licensing was so expensive. And
Yeah,
you were a
everything
music startup
was
that relied on licensing.
$1 million advances, like all the
Yep.
money goes to the labels.
Yep.
And there was kind of a a cycle in the early stages of digital music where rights holders could take a big advance, and then the company goes out of business. They take the whole advance down, and then they just rinse and
Hmm.
repeat as people are
Right.
trying to start up new things. We were lucky, like you asked about advances for us. We were really fortunate on multiple levels in that. One is that we were setting up a whole new industry. We weren't cannibalizing anything. We were taking
Hmm.
existing behavior that is infringing and monetizing it and capturing value that did not take away from value anywhere else. One of
So
the big,
first mover advantage.
yeah,
Yep.
digital music services were cannibalizing CD sales, right? We didn't
Hmm.
have that issue. So the publishers didn't have uh, a, a revenue stream that we were putting at risk that they needed to account for with an advance.
You were building in a new industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our first deal was with EMI. So we had people like Ted and Mike in our corner who were vouching for us and and trying to get people to give us a reasonable deal. So that helped. And because they were the biggest publisher, then that was social proof for the rest of the publishers. And then even one of our next big deals was with the Harry Fox agency, and we used that to aggregate a ton of indie publishers, and Universal initially opted into that deal, and BMG opted into that deal. So other larger publishers were in there as well. And because we had Lauren Apolito in our corner over there, we negotiated the whole deal, and the whole time the advance line was blank. And I was dreading the point where in that contract where that number got filled in. And Lauren, because she's such a wonderful person and loved us so much and wanted to see us succeed, filled in $10,000 into that, whereas normally their typical advances were hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time. So
they saw a benefit in building this, and they believed in your ability to pull it off, basically.
yeah,
And
they're
understood that
just
you had no
wonderful
money.
people,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
We were fortunate enough that the people that we got to deal with were like the good guys in the industry and who believed in what we were doing and wanted to help, and weren't there to just extract the most amount of money possible.
Yeah.
Funding wise, we were self-funding it through the leftover beer money from the SEO on the old site, and through a $50,000 loan from my mother, and I was Canadian too. So so that was really all of the funding that we had. So they couldn't ask for more money anyway. Look,
Right.
the
You
answer
didn't have it. Yeah.
was necessarily going to be no if they asked for $100,000 advance. There was
At that point, it's like to your benefit to not raise.
right.
Yeah.
And there was a period that we went through where I said to myself, if we actually do succeed in raising money, I'm not going to tell anybody, because
It's going to be gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then like
Yeah.
the last stragglers of deals that we were trying to do, then they're gonna suddenly that advance number is gonna be massive,
For sure.
and
For
we're never
sure.
gonna recoup it. So there were all sorts of cases like that where there was a lot of luck involved, and there was a lot of the kindness of others in our history, where we were able to keep going and able to build the business because people believed in us and people liked us.
Right. So this is generally a conversation about careers. You've had one job. So I'd like to talk a little bit about how you and your founders approach company building, culture building, hiring. Like, I know that when Ryan and I started Infinite Album, we never really had like a whole like book put together, right? Of, a little like, employee handbook, but we talked a lot in the beginning about how do we both want to build a company? What are the values that are important to us? What kind of people do we want to hire? We had a pretty strong no asshole policy, and we vetted people to like not be assholes because it was just not worth our time to be dealing with assholes in general, especially not in our own company. So that was pretty strong for us. We wanted big thinkers, people that we didn't have to guide a lot, people that were punching higher than their weight, people who saw, a big opportunity. That was sort of like our guiding principles. And there was a lot more about the culture we wanted to build too in general. But I'm kind of curious, like, was that even a consideration for you guys, or were you just like so heads down, go, go, go? You just like bring people in, and then how does that change over time? And what does it take to get hired by Lyric Find today? Pretty solid company where people work there for 10, 15 years, like it's a pretty good gig. Just talk a little bit about company building, culture building, hiring, promoting people, recruiting, that sort of thing.
I think like originally in the early days, all of that stuff was 100% a consideration. It was super important because we looked at Lyric Find as our life, right? Like we were spending more time on Lyric Find than anything else. If you think about with Mo and I, we've long ago past the point where I've spent more time with Mo than anyone else in my life, including my parents. And, all day, every day, we were university roommates for 5 years too. So, we'd already worked together on the earlier stuff, and we knew that we were going to be spending all of our time on this. So we needed to hire people that we actually wanted to spend time with. That was the most important thing, because then we knew that there would be the right relationship there, and the right trust to work together. And we didn't want to be miserable. Like, we've all worked with people over the course of our careers that, you're just not happy to be in the same room with us, or not thrilled about it. And we've obviously over the years had a few people that we hired that ended up kind of falling into that category.
Mhm.
But we've got a really good track record, I think. So we wanted to make sure that the people that we were hiring were people that we wanted to spend all day, every day with. We couldn't afford to have a bad hire because we had no money. So we
Mhm.
needed to take our time and really vet people. Like, every new employee was a huge monumental decision for us.
For sure. Yeah.
Uh, so
That
we had,
salary is a real obligation.
yeah,
That's a real nut to meet every month.
exactly. And you have to have uh, the ability to pay it, and you also have to have have the comfort with the investment, because obviously most employees don't come in and they hit the ground running day one. It takes training, it takes time to find them, it takes a lot of energy and effort to find the right person and then train the right person. So personality and culture mattered a huge amount, especially in the early days. We spent all day with the early employees, and we'd all go out to the bar afterwards, and we'd hang out lots outside of work too, because this was so
Mhm.
much of our life,
And
and
that's
we were
pretty
doing it.
typical of the music industry to hang out socially with the people that you work with. Like that's kind of part of
Yeah,
it. We're not
yeah,
9 to 5ers. None of us are 9 to 5ers.
no, and it's key, and we were all young, like pre-kids, pre-mortgage,
Yeah.
pre-spouses, and everything like that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was part of the lifestyle a lot of the time. But we had to make sure that we we did it right. Uh, and then we wanted to build an environment where we were happy to be every day, uh, as as employees ourselves. That if we're coming into the office, that it's a place that we want to be, and we're not making it a miserable dungeon for everybody else. And over the years, as we've grown and we've built out office space and things like that, and uh, seeing different offices that various other types of companies are in, mostly not in the music industry, but the places where, like, I was looking at a space a little while ago that there was a corner office with no windows and no glass on it. It was just a dungeon there. It's
Mm.
like, who wants to work in a place like that? So we would
A programmer.
maybe, but
They're locked in
it's
all day anyway. Yeah.
there whether it's little things like designing spaces where natural light comes into every person's workspace, or being flexible with things like, okay, you need to go to an appointment, you need to pick your kid up early, you need to do this or that, like, and hiring people that you trust, that they're going to do what they need to do, and you don't have to micromanage them. But
They're not going to abuse the system, that sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the early hires were super important with that, and we have tons of people that have been with us over 10 years, over 15 years. People like Roy and Nick that have been with us for over 15 years, and really helped to set the culture of the company, and keep it going and keep it alive. It gets harder as the company gets bigger. We have globally over 150 people now. So it, and obviously COVID with remote work impacts culture, and that makes it tougher. And now with more people in New York and people in Europe with the Rotor acquisition, that it gets even more challenging. But
Yeah.
the nut of it for us from a culture perspective is that uh, we don't have people do anything that we wouldn't be willing to do ourselves. Uh, and we don't have working conditions that we wouldn't be happy with ourselves for anybody. Uh, and then just have fun,
Yeah.
and you know, no assholes, don't be dicks to each other. Uh, and and then it builds a lot of loyalty with the staff,
Hmm.
and that goes both ways. We we talk we talk a lot about uh, the training of people and the cost of hiring somebody new. Like,
Yeah.
we've had people make mistakes over the years and make expensive mistakes, but that's kind of an investment in who they are as an employee as well. It doesn't mean that you cut ties with them. It means that now they've learned from that. They're not going to make that mistake or something similar again. So it's an investment in them as a professional as well. So
Yeah, for sure.
uh,
Just by the way, if anybody has any questions, just pop them in the chat. We are keeping an eye on that. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up for lyrics. The industry is changing in lots of ways. You actually have competitors now, which you didn't have for a while. That must have been really great being a first mover and having a little bit of a runway to establish dominance. What do you foresee as like the biggest challenges that you want to sort of overcome or figure out in the next 5 years, either that you know about or you're sort of thinking of that might be an issue someday?
yeah, I mean, it's like putting aside the antitrust challenges of the moment, that's probably the biggest one. But
Yeah, yeah.
from a market perspective, I think that uh, there's a constant challenge with the amount of music that is being released right now. Right,
Hmm.
there isn't a viable way to keep up with the amount of content that is being released at a high level of accuracy on the lyric side. And we work with AI tools and other things to make that process more efficient. Uh, but we're never going to have the lyrics to 50 million new songs a year that and have them be accurate, because it's
Hmm.
just not feasible with that pace of releases. And that didn't used to be the case, obviously. It was if you think to the early digital music days when we were starting, it's like, oh, there's a million songs in your pocket. Okay, we have
Hmm.
like 15 million songs in our database now,
Right.
but uh, that's a fraction of the. I think Luminate had 230 million ISRCs that they tracked last year. So you don't need all of them. A lot of those are instrumental. A lot of those never. 60 million of those never got listened to even once across all streaming
Hmm.
services.
Right.
So there's a matter of prioritization there, but a big challenge is the efficiency of content creation at a high level of accuracy, along with not just the transcription of the lyrics, but synchronization of them, translation of them into different languages, and maintaining a high level of accuracy in all of those aspects. Uh, so
How
that's
how do you how do you how do you get to accuracy? I'm assuming AI is the first step, but it's not always accurate. Is that an internal
yeah.
process, or do you put that on the publishers and the artists?
No, it's primarily done by our in-house teams. So
Hmm.
that's the majority of our employees are on the content team, working on the lyrics, transcriptions, and translations in sync, and
Interesting.
making sure that they're accurate. We do have a verified artist program where artists can submit their content to us directly. So if they submit it, then we trust it because it's coming direct from them. We get a lot of content from digital distributors that are our partners, people like DistroKid and One RPM and TuneCore and a ton of others. So they send us lyrics that are submitted, and then that can get processed in different ways on our side as well. But we internally manage all of the high priority songs, all of the releases, and work kind of on a top down from on a popularity basis to make sure that that content is accurate. And we have feedback loops from our clients and partners. If there is a mistake that's found, then that comes in and gets reviewed by our team. So We've made that process much, much more efficient than it was 20 years ago.
Mhm.
But in the end, ultimately, the process comes down to a human one to make sure that it is accurate, because there is no other way for the content to be reliably accurate at this point,
Right.
other than human eyes and ears.
So there's a question in the chat about how many languages, and Robert Singerman, hey Robert, says there's hundreds of languages. Does that mean you have hundreds of people all over the world um, making it
No,
accurate?
we internally support, I think, 30 something languages,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where we have people on the content team native to those languages, and that's with our teams around the world. Our core languages that are all here in Toronto are English, French, Spanish, German, Italian, Portuguese, Japanese, and Korean. And then we have external teams in Morocco and India and Vietnam and Eastern Europe and a bunch of other places working on local languages in those regions. But we have content in the database from hundreds of languages that
Mm-hmm.
have come through, whether it's come from artists directly or from digital distributors or places like that. So other verified sources. So there is a huge amount of content in and different languages that are there and supported. But internally, it's 30 something languages that we have on staff.
Yeah. Let's talk about AI generated lyrics, because there's so much AI generated music now, and it's very easy to brush that under the rug and say, well, there's so much AI music, but it's not getting played. And then we have, the artist that just came out, spacing their name right now, but they're kind of like a 70s throwback band that, it's getting millions and millions, millions of plays, and there's all kinds of lyrics all over those songs. So what do we think about that? Because like our issue with AI generated music is that it's honestly not covered by copyright. There isn't enough of a human element, human hand on the music, for the Copyright Office to consider it copyrightable, right? So that's an issue. I would think the same thing for AI lyrics. If you're just saying, pump out lyrics, especially Suno and Udio and those kinds of companies that will make you a song. Suppose you want to then put that song on DistroKid and put it on Spotify. There's no copyright, and your business kind of runs on copyrights. So how do you capture all those AI generated lyrics? And secondly, how is it defensible to collect money on them?
So I think that there's a couple angles to that. On the copyright side, I tend to agree. I'm not a lawyer. I just have pretended to be one for the last 20 years. But I did see Jeff Liebenson, who is our lawyer, in the chat there, so he can answer more intelligently than me on this. But from my perspective, it kind of doesn't matter to me if it's copyrighted or not. It's just a matter of, do we have the correct license for it, and therefore then we would use it, and is it being listened to on DSPs? Is it being asked for by users on a lyric website? Because then we'll provide the data and the service around that. So we deal a lot with direct licensing right now, where the major publishers generally directly license all of the major streaming services, but we still provide the actual lyric text, the synchronization, the translation, and all of that, even though we're not delivering the copyright license for it.
Mm-hmm.
So from a defensibility standpoint, it doesn't really make a difference. Like, I'm happy to support a direct license, and we collect our service fee for the overall service that includes that content, whether the license comes from us or another source. And if it's not copyrighted, it's the same as something that is either directly licensed or is in the public domain. Our concern is whether or not people actually want it. And if people want it, we're happy to deliver it along with the rest of the content. And the question on that too becomes, is it any good? I think most of
Mm-hmm.
the stuff is right now not that good, but there are obviously exceptions to that. There are things that have been made through AI that I think people will generally agree, like it's not bad, and I would listen to that. It might be the exception rather than the rule, but it's there, and I think it's going to continue to be there. But for us, our driving force uh, is meeting the demand of users of services for the content, whatever whoever owns that content or doesn't own that content in this case, and then making sure that the owners and writers, the people who do own that content and represent it, are properly paid for that use. So in that scenario, we'll get the lyrics, whether that's from the people who created it through the artist program or through a distributor, or if it's high enough up in the charts, then we'll create it internally ourselves, and then allocate the license either to, if it's not copyrighted, then it would be public domain. I also don't really have an objection to paying to the people who did create it and do the work to release it in some of those cases. Like, I don't need to collect and keep that money. I would either return it or have it go elsewhere. We have our service fee, and that covers the service outside of the licensing.
Sure. Yeah, we kind of take the same approach on that. We do have licenses with a couple of labels, and we do reference copyrights, because we are licensing a copyright from their music to make new AI music, and we have a percentage that we feel is, the AI engines work and the source materials work, and we are creating a new work out of their existing work. So we are creating a new copyright, which we co-own. And we actually have spoken, the Copyright Office had an open house, basically a town hall. And we were one of the ones chosen to speak on what we think should be the future of AI music copyright. And our position is, if it can't be a copyright, an enforceable copyright deal right now, then at the very least, it's going to be a commercial deal. So if we're going to make new music with someone's sources, then and we're going to make money with that, then we're going to split the money with that, whether or not the Copyright Office says we have to. It's just the right thing to do. And our whole thing with AI music and choosing to go into games with it is that we feel that we want to make a pathway for revenue for artists within AI music. Again, we chose the most lucrative, and we're creating, some of the very first contracts that will be referenced for future deals on how to do that, how to split it, how to pay out, and so forth, so that there's actually is, a pathway for artists to make money passively. I call it a very sophisticated sink.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. And I
yeah.
think, as a Canadian, it's also to, like, the world is not just the US, right? The US Copyright Office might say that it's not copyrightable, but somebody else might say that it is, right?
Yeah.
So when we're operating globally, we have to respect global copyrights, not just US copyrights, and make sure that the right people are paid in the right territory, and there's different rules in different countries. So, even if we're not, if it's not copyrightable in the US, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't have, exactly as you say, a commercial deal that ends up encompassing that overall as part of a global license.
If you wait for the Copyright Office to build your business, you're never going to have a business. You got to just go build it and have them catch up to you, basically.
Yeah. And I always find too that if you do fair deals with people, even when you don't necessarily have to, like, you are one example of that, even with our EMI deal originally when we did it, had a lower revenue share than what we ended up agreeing to with other major publishers afterwards. And we had no obligation to, but in fairness, we went back to them and said, you guys were here first, you licensed us first. We're going to give you the increased revenue share that we just agreed to with these other guys. over here.
Right.
Right. We didn't
Most
have to
favored
do
nations.
that.
Yeah.
You know, especially in the term of that first deal, it ended up costing us next to nothing because we didn't have a lot of usage then. But the respect and relationship that gets built up because of stuff like that and doing the right thing
Absolutely.
makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Totally. All right, Darryl, would you like to play a game?
Always. Wait, that's
We're
the
gonna-
start of a horror movie, isn't it? Isn't that like a
It
song?
is. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you an image and you're going to tell me what you think. The first thing that pops
A
into your
Rorschach
mind.
test? Is this one?
A little bit. First thing that pops in your head.
Well, that's Mo. That's my wow. Yeah, I mean, I think that's Mo. I think he looks
It's Mo.
older than that now. Um, and but if I think about Mo, it's like, the person that is has always been a constant in my life and in business for the last 25 plus years, and the uh the perfect partner to work on everything with. And if you know if we can continue being in business after together for 25 years one way or another, and being really really close friends for that long, he's doing something right, and so am I.
Awesome.
Huge respect. The aforementioned Jeff Liebenson there in the chat, lawyer to the rescue, and one of my favorite wine drinking buddies. Uh,
I'll second that.
yeah. The backstory with Jeff is our initial lawyer, who Mike McCarty introduced me to, was Milt Olin. And Milt worked on all sorts of stuff. And when we were just about uh, to to do the deal we were renewing our deal with Universal, and making a bunch of changes to it, and also in the process of working on acquiring Grace Note's lyric business. Milt was tragically hit by a car by a sheriff's deputy while riding his bike and killed. There was only one other person in the world at that point who had worked on lyric licensing deals, and that was Jeff. And he had worked on the deals for Grace Note originally. So I immediately called Jeff. He initially won the job by default because we were in the middle of it, but here we are, 12 years later, 13 years later, and Jeff has written so many different unique deals, saved our ass in so many different uh, legal points and other things. Uh, he's not just a lawyer; he's a great friend. So is his wife. We've traveled together outside of work, and that, been to weddings. He was at my wedding. I've been at his kids' weddings, and that's so more a friend than a colleague.
Amazing. We only have 5 minutes left, so we have to go a little faster.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
I've been known to be long-winded. Roy, our first full-time salesperson, over 15 years. We've grown up so much together. He still has the same amount of hair, and yeah, really has become a huge close friend, and he's the backbone of Lyric Vines culture.
Nice.
Larry Marcus, the one investor that I've trusted, and and incredibly smart financial mind and strategic mind. So we took a tiny bit of money from Larry himself personally. He's the only other money that we've raised outside of the money from my mother, and uh, and we did it because of who Larry is as a person. We didn't need the money. We just wanted him to go through the act of writing a check, and we wanted Larry's mind as an advisor. That was like 12 years ago, as well, and he's been a massive help to us every day since then. Robert, oh, where do we start with Robert? Robert is the king of lyric translations. He is the one who
Robert
was
Singerman.
Robert Singerman.
Mhm.
He's here on the call too. He's uh, the gives the most amazing speeches at our holiday events and everything, because he is uh, he, right up there with me, with Mo, and the emotional investment in this company and the success of it and the belief in it. Um, and he challenges my thinking on things all the time. And I think we drive each other crazy sometimes, but I love it, and I love the way that he makes me think and his vision for what we can do. And there's Milt. I mean, the story of Milt, his picture is still up here in my
Mm,
office, uh,
yeah,
from his funeral. Uh,
he's a
and
great guy.
yeah, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everything that Milt did to set us up. And we quote different things from him still to this day, expressions that he would use in contracts, whether it's like honoring it in the breach where he knows that we're going to agree to something that they have to do, that the other side has to get, but they're never going to enforce and we're never going to actually do. Or I've gotten to know Clark Miller well, who was at EMI, and Milt had an expression that I told Clark about that was Clark Miller bombs, where he would be able to put something into a contract that seemed benign but would really protect things. So it was always fun with that.
I love that.
Andrew Stess brought us our first big client. Has been on our board ever since. When we realized, hey, we need this kind of skill set. He was working at what was All Music Guide at the time, and has since morphed through multiple company names into Xperi and Ubiquity. But salesman extraordinaire,
Mhm.
and he was the one who helped us to bring on Roy, and helped to train everything there and set us up in what our sales culture really is. And huge impact on the company over the years in pretty much every major deal that we've done.
Nice.
And then the legend himself of Ted Cohen, who, the number of times he's had to vouch for us, especially early on. I remember doing early deals where people wanted to see our financials, and if they had seen that we had, only like $500 in the bank, they never would have done a deal with us. But Ted would tell them, "No, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine." And they would do the deal,
And they would believe him.
and it kept us going. Um, you know, the number of people that uh, uh, he has influenced for us to get deals done, or to get a reasonable deal done, or his ability to just tell people with a straight face that what they're asking for is bullshit, and they should be ashamed of themselves, but have people take it well, uh, and uh, and be the voice of experience. I can't count the number of times that he has prevented catastrophe for us.
Great. So two more quick ones.
Allie, and Allie's here too. Did you just line up all these people that were going to be on? Uh, yeah, Allie, my music biz best friend, one of my best friends overall. Anyway, the number of things that and experience that we've done. We've never really worked together, but it doesn't matter. You know, I met Allie for the first time at Meetem the first year that I went to Meetem, the first year that she was at Meetem, and we hit it off so well that a couple days later we were traveling through the south of France together post Meetem, and there's there's nobody I would rather hang out with and see,
Same.
and yeah, I'm sad that she's not on the conference circuit as much anymore, so we don't get to see each
Yeah.
other nearly as
Yeah.
much.
All right. Last one.
Who is that? Never. I the biggest thing, again, Karen, aside from your amazing
Tom
blanket
sure it says
making,
mic drop.
aside from your amazing blanket making abilities, that
Mhm.
Karen makes awesome blankets. She made one for my son when he was born that he still uses to this day. Um, and it's like a rocker blanket with a skull and crossbones and stuff on it and his
Yeah.
name. But the thing that I think about you is, and that I admire so much about you, is your work ethic, your organization, your humility. I don't think you take nearly as much credit as you should for all the things that you have done over the years. When we met, when you were working with Ted, you were so on top of everything, and then being able uh, to see that and see how well you uh, handled so many different situations over that, and uh, you weren't there looking to get credit for things, although I think you should have. Uh, I don't think you toot your own horn enough, um, and you are the smartest person in the room, and
Thank you.
seeing what you've been able to build with Infinite Album, seeing what you have been able uh, to do, and immersing yourself on the Twitch side and literally writing the book on that was so successful is just incredibly impressive to me. And I also wish that you were out on the conference circuit more, and
I wish so
we
too.
all got to hang
Yeah.
out more. I
Yeah.
miss a lot of that.
All right. Back to you, Tom. We went like 2 minutes over. Sorry about that.
Honestly, I'd like this to go on for another hour. This has been fantastic. Karen, what a cool thing to do here the last 10 minutes of asking Darryl to comment on all these great people. Fantastic job. I am just
Thank
beaming
you.
pride about how well this went today. Darryl, like I said at the outset, I've been chasing you for a long time to get you here. I'm so glad we got you. And we couldn't have paired you with a better interviewer than Karen, obviously, as she
Thank you.
Absolutely.
demonstrated. Love seeing all the chat today. So many all-stars in here, so many alums of the platform in here. This is just absolutely fantastic. You've made my month. I promised the audience they would leave smarter and more enlightened than they arrived. Nailed it today. And so thank you very much. We're off the next 2 weeks, folks. It's August. Everyone takes August off everywhere else. So we're going to abide by that. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, stay cool because it's hot AF in Nashville and probably where you are.
Not in LA. Ha ha.
God, here. Be safe, be nice to each other, and we'll see you soon.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.